There's been a significant trust deficit towards Victoria Police and the Judiciary. Now, these organisations are charged with dealing with integrity and corruption matters. And because of the nature of the Community Advocacy Alliance, the organisation has consistently received intelligence and have been approached regularly on integrity issues. Now, both areas have escalated, particularly over recent months concerning policing and other related issues about government entity activities. Now, the intelligence flow increase is due to a higher profile of corruption issues and individuals looking for somewhere to provide the information that they can actually trust. Commonly, integrity matters seem to be from people who've tried to use the system and have either been fobbed off by the entity that they're actually complaining about, or they've become frustrated being referred from pillar to post without resolution. Now, the CAA is implementing 2 new teams to deal with these matters appropriately. The first one is the Intelligence Management Team. Now, this team is staffed by experienced intelligence officers and is supported by a specialist legal advisor. Now, there's a wealth of experience in this team, and we anticipate that they're going to be highly effective and as effective as any other formal intelligence unit. The second one is the Integrity Assessment Team. Now, this team will manage all incoming issues from the public and others within government on issues where they feel they have been wronged or have identified suspected corruption. And joining us today to tell us about this is Executive Chair of the CAA and former Victorian Chief Commissioner of Police, Cal Blair. Morning, Cal.
Morning.
Now, these 2 new teams, what was the impetus for those being formed?
We receive constantly complaints from people that they've been affected by corrupt decisions and all manner of crimes, and those complaints are not being dealt with effectively. And we really don't know to the extent of the corruption and the mismanagement of complaints. And that's why we've decided to use the experience of our team to form this intelligence gathering body, which will put those things together, sort out the links and cross links, enable us to direct attention to those things that really ought to be investigated and now are really not being adequately dealt with.
Now, we see a lot of this, where everything from Deborah Glass's identifying the red shirts rort, where somehow $388,000 identified as inappropriately or wrongly used of the taxpayers' money, but no charges or investigations flowing from that. Just give it back, no harm, no foul. The I Cook Food saga, and the list goes on and on. How much sway does CAA have with getting the investigative or IBAC or any of these actual entities dealing with this stuff?
Well, IBAC has publicly given up. They announced that they didn't have the resources to adequately investigate matters. I accept they're starved of funds, and that may well be deliberate so that they can't really effectively perform their function. The whole system has fallen down of dealing with complaints. We take the red shirts. I said, Andrew's Labor government said, oh, it's okay, we've paid the money back. Well, you try robbing a bank, and when you're caught, say it's okay, I'll give the money back. That's not good enough. In my view, the whole thing was clearly criminal. I've also seen an opinion from a leading Queen's Counsel who expressed the same view based on the Ombudsman's report. It ought to have been put before the courts and the matter decided there. And that's not where it stops. I mean, we've had 2 Labor ministers who were rorting their living away from home allowance, and they said, oh, well, they paid back something like $80,000 each. Again, that's not good enough. You look at specific criminal offences, but there's also a common law offence of misconduct in public office, and that's been totally ignored by investigators. I can think of the I Cook Foods matter, apart from the fact that I know of 2 counts of perjury and obviously a conspiracy to defraud all kinds of things. Again, there's a clear commission of a number of offences of misconduct in public office, and that's being ignored by investigators and ignored by Victoria Police, sadly, and we really need more from the people who are looking at these avenues of corruption. The CAA is currently looking at 35 different instances where we believe there's been corrupt action. Now, we're not ready to go public with any of that yet, but we've had 35 matters brought to our attention, and that's an extremely worrying factor. I think the public of Victoria ought to be aghast at the fact there are so many instances where corruption is being alleged.
And the CAA is not a political organisation. You see corruption out wherever it lays.
That's right. We're not political. We don't have affiliations with any political party. But what we want to see is a government that acts ethically, that is not corrupt, is open, accountable, and competent. And sadly, in Victoria, we're not seeing any of those things at the moment. And if it was some other government, coalition or independents or whatever in power, and they were acting in this way, we would be equally vocal. So we can't have the finger pointed at us and say, oh, well, you're just anti-Labor and you're knocking them, simply because they're Labor. No, that's not right. We have no trouble with the politics. We're not interested in the politics as such. We're interested, as I said, in good, effective, ethical, competent, and open, honest and accountable government, and we're not getting it in Victoria.
Now, is CAA receive any government funding, or is it all privately funded?
All privately funded for a very long time. We've been going 7 years. I'd say for the first 5 years, we funded our activities out of our own pockets. We have received a few donations over the last couple of years, which have been very useful in getting our message out there. And for that, we're very grateful. If we had more funding, we would be able to more widely spread our message to fight corruption. But we live within our means, and we're doing the best we can to make the public aware of the fact that things are rotten in Denmark.
How do people find out about the CAA, and what sort of things should they come to you with, Cal?
If anyone wants to look at our website, which is caainc.org.au, they will find there what we're all about. They will see who's involved. We've got a wide range of retired former police and a very good cross-section of civilians. And they will see a link there where if anyone wants to make a donation to us so we can further our work, then there is that link to where a donation can be made. So we're very open. We're very open to scrutiny. We welcome scrutiny. And we certainly believe that we're acting in the best interest of the public at large. And we really need public support, and we need people not to accept corruption. We've got to the stage where I think that a lot of the population think, oh, well, governments are corrupt, we expect that, it really doesn't matter. Of course it does. It's costing you, the taxpayer, millions of, or perhaps billions of dollars in relation to matters that are corrupt and not being dealt with. So it is a direct impost on the taxpaying public. And even if for no other reason, I think that the general public ought to be concerned about their own hip pockets.
What sort of matters would you like people to come to the CAA with, Cal?
Anything that involves corruption in the public sector. We're not looking at corruption in the private sector because there's too much corruption in the public sector for us to even worry about what's happening privately. So anything that's a matter of corruption in the public sector, we would like to know about. We would like to be able to be a voice to say, look, this is happening and it should not be happening. It must not be allowed to happen. We can't get to the point where we accept corruption, because then if we turn away and don't do something about it, we're condoning it. And corruption eats away at our very democratic process. And we need to preserve that at all costs.
All right. Cal Glare, Chief Executive of the CAA and former Victorian Police Chief Commissioner, thanks so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.